I see that the numbers are quite stable, so I'll make a start with some housekeeping. First of all, I'll introduce myself. I'm Stefano Barazza, academic lead for the LegalTech part of the Legal Innovation Lab Wales. I'll be chairing our meeting today, which is primarily to give you an overview about the Legal Innovation Lab Wales and its significance for the legal sector in Wales and beyond. And we're very fortunate to have a number of fantastic speakers with us today, including Jeremy Miles, Counsel General for Wales. And so first of all, I just want to advise you that the webinar will be recorded. So recording of this will be available later on for all of you to watch on our website. And also I'd like to mention that we have a Q&A function that is enabled. So you can leave any question that you have about the lab or anything that we're going to discuss today. And if we can, we're going to answer you live. If not, we will follow up by email as all the questions are then recorded. So without further ado, first of all, I'd like to ask Professor Elwen Evans, QC, who is our Executive Dean of the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, and of course a criminal silk, to say a few words of introduction. Elwen has seen the need for tech in law, both as a practitioner and now also as an academic. And she has campaigned very passionately for legal tech to play a significant role in the Welsh legal sector. So over to you, Elwen, to say a few words and introduce our speakers.
Thank you so very much, Stefano. Pnawn da, croeso cynnes iawn I bawb. Rydyn ni mor falch eich bod wedi ymuno â ni ar nos Wener yn mis Ionawr. The warmest of welcomes to all of you to the Hillary Rodham Clinton School of Law at Swansea University. Apologies for my backdrop, or should I say lack of backdrop. I had some lovely backdrops that showcased the Legal Innovation Lab at the Hillary Rodham Clinton School of Law, but in a real-time display of my complete lack of technical skills, I've lost them. And so you have the benefit of rural Carmarthenshire in my backdrop. But my personal lack of technical skills possibly has underlined a very real, and I'm grateful for Stefano using that word passion for realizing that law legal practice into the future requires an underpinning and an understanding and an overarching recognition of technical legal input, skills and understanding. And for me, this is an important day, just not in my role as the head of the law school, but also in a personal role. I don't often talk about myself, but I am going to mention this, if you'll forgive me and indulge me in this way. One of the main reasons that I moved from practice as a QC in Wales into the university was a very real feeling that things needed to be done to try and support that, whether you call it legal tech, you can argue for hours, and academics do, as to the appropriateness of that title. But whatever the title, that concept of the role of tech within law and indeed the professions more generally was something that it seemed to me needed some focus and some drive. And so we are enormously grateful that there are others with vision and understanding who have been able to support that pursuit of an objective around legal tech. And so, if I may, I would like to say an enormous thank you to our colleagues in WEFO and their support in developing, awarding and implementing this project. Of course, it isn't just a project about legal tech. It's not just the Legal Innovation Lab. It also embraces that sphere which is under Richard Owen's remit, and you'll be hearing from Richard shortly, as the director of the Law Clinic. It also embraces the work that Professor Stuart MacDonald, and of course Simon also is a part of this journey, but Stuart MacDonald does with CyTrek around terrorism and around cyberspace. These are all areas that the law school absolutely engages with, is at the cutting edge of, but are also part of this project. So I'm looking forward to you hearing a little from our colleagues about the work that they are doing and how this absolutely is part of this WEFO project. But of course, it gives me very particular pleasure to welcome the Counsel General and the Minister for European Transition. But of course, that part of his job description is perhaps a whole different topic for a whole different occasion. Tonight he's here as Counsel General. Tonight he's here as a lawyer that understands the real challenges that the sector faces, not just the lawyers, but the people that we as lawyers are serving, even more importantly. He's from Pontarddulais, Ysgol Gyfun Ystalyfera, and New College, Oxford. He was a solicitor in London, a senior legal and commercial practitioner and office holder in media and other very significant organizations. ITV, he's worked in the United States, NBC Universal. And he chose, and that's a really important word for me, he chose to come back to Wales, set up his own consultancy business here, again with international clients in broadcasting and digital sectors. We're fortunate that someone with Jeremy Miles's experience, skill set, ability and knowledge chose to come back to Wales and then chose to go into politics. And so with that understanding, he is the ideal person to be our keynote speaker tonight. He knows the importance of this agenda. He knows the importance of Wales in following through this agenda. And as a commissioner on the Commission into Justice in Wales, it was evident that the Counsel General has a real understanding of this whole agenda. We're very, very grateful. We're very, very fortunate in Wales to have someone who has that understanding and is able to come and share very real experiences and vision for the future with us. So thank you very, very much. I probably inevitably run over my time. I apologize for that. There is just so much more I would like to say, but actually it will be said much better by the others who are going to follow me now. So, croeso garw iawn, Jeremy, diolch o galon I ti am wneud amser I ddod i gweld mi. Over to the Counsel General.
Well, prynhawn da bawb, diolch Elwen am y croeso. Mae wastad yn braf bod gyda Brifysgol Abertawe a Ysgol y Gyfraith yn benodol. Thank you very much for the welcome and for the very, very generous introduction, which I hope I can do justice to in the next few minutes. I was reflecting before thinking about what to say this evening that when I would speak at events before the pandemic gripped Wales, gripped the world, in fact, I would tend to start by expressing my pleasure at being with people I was talking to and in the particular place. And in many ways, it's one of the more rewarding parts of being in government, really getting out and meeting people and seeing what is happening on the ground, what people need, and trying to use that to shape our response. And whilst I'm delighted to be with you this evening, going out to places and meeting in person has changed, hasn't it, for all of us in the last 12 months. And the digital and technological innovations, I think, that have enabled us to maintain our contact with people, to maintain our relationships and develop new and progressive ways of working have been really pretty extraordinary. And it's enabling us to come together this evening in a virtual space, even though we can't be together in person as we would all obviously like to be. And I think as we emerge from the pandemic and, having left the European Union, digital innovation in particular, I think will continue as one of the transforming influences in our lives. And with that sort of transformative capacity comes significant benefits. I think responded to correctly, deployed correctly, it has the potential to release people from the more mundane parts of life and work, so that they can give full voice to their creativity and productivity in other ways. I think it will support higher skilled jobs in Wales and indeed across the world into the future. And I think it'll open new markets for trade. And I think in the current context in which we find ourselves, that's obviously increasingly important. And I think fundamentally, again, if harnessed correctly, it can help drive a well-being economy, really, for people and for businesses right across Wales. And it will, digital and technology and innovation in that space is already and will continue to, I think, change the world of law and the legal sector. And that change is irreversible, essentially. And I think it's crucial that we embrace the benefits of digital innovation and automation, because that will ensure that we're able to build prosperous and healthy firms and to meet what clients and consumers both expect and demand. So I think that is grasping that opportunity and responding creatively to that is fundamental. Ellen, you mentioned the work of the Justice Commission. Technology and legal technology and the role it plays was very well understood, I think, by the Commission and its work. The Commission recognised that the 5 leading UK headquartered solicitors firms, the Big 4 accountancy practices, and to a slightly lesser extent, perhaps the next tier of solicitors firms, are already and have been for some time using technology as a strategic enabler, really, to deliver scalable, cost-effective, client-centric solutions. The Commission considered that AI is at an early stage of development and deployment in the sector, but in reality that also is changing quickly, certainly in particular parts of the sector. And whilst there are practices in Wales who are already deploying technology to deliver perhaps more commoditized high volume work, the Commission also recognised that practices don't at present have sufficient capacity, really, to either develop or even to acquire new technologies. And in contrast to that, legal services in the public sector have adopted technology in a pretty significant and certainly successful way. So I think some of that learning is very important. The Commission also saw a significant role for universities to both train Welsh law students in the use of new technologies for modern legal practice, but also to assist practices to develop and deploy technology in the delivery of their services. The Commission also singled out this university's Centre for Innovation and Entrepreneurship in Law for responding to the challenges, particularly I think around emerging technologies and innovation in legal services, and that's good to know. There was a recommendation for the Welsh Government, for us as a government, that we should provide strong support for investment in technology, especially in the post-industrial and rural parts of Wales. And we are making the digital agenda, I would say, a priority actually in supporting the economy to recover in particular from the impacts of the COVID pandemic. And I think it's absolutely vital actually that the increased adoption and exploitation of the sort of digital tools that we've now been becoming increasingly familiar and fluent in, that the adoption of those tools is capitalized on, and that we use this moment of enforced transformation, if you like, to embrace the opportunities that digital technology is bringing us, and to make sure that is sustained into the future and supported into the future. So tech such as AI or automation and machine learning as well are focal points to progress digital in both the transformation of public services and the broader economy. And our goal as a government is to try and harness the power of that and the power of data as well alongside that to maximise the public good. And that is a fantastic opportunity and brings real creativity, but also brings challenges, clearly, doesn't it? Feedback from stakeholders is actually that Wales is rarely seen, unfortunately, as a significant international player in digital innovation, but the tech sector is thriving, actually, and we want to see that more of that, and we want to see that continue and build into the future. The technology sector is growing. It's supported by about 3,600 companies or so, about 45,000 employees, and about £1 billion worth of turnover. So that is a good base upon which to develop even further and be even more ambitious in the growth of the sector. And the pace at which technology is moving, is unprecedented, really. Clearly, whether it's AI and automation, as I've already mentioned, but also the opportunities that are coming from things like the Internet of Things and the connectivity, and also some of the downside, the cyber threats, for example, that is all playing into a very changed landscape. And what that tells me, I think, is that businesses and academia and public service providers have got to work together, actually, to understand and, importantly, to optimize our use of technology so that we can make sure we're not being left behind. We, I think, are well placed to do that in Wales, but we have to seize that moment, and we certainly shouldn't let up. I think, in the very big picture, if you like, that our future prosperity and indeed the fairness of our economy and issues around equality and so on will ultimately become very reliant on us taking advantage of digital opportunities. But it's not just about technology, and I just want to say something more broadly about an approach to innovation, if you like. I think that is absolutely fundamental, yes, in the technology setting, but also more broadly. And that's why I'm really pleased to be with you and to be asked to be here this evening at the launch of the Legal Innovation Lab Wales. It's a fantastic facility, really transformative, really supporting the collaboration that I've just been talking about, really, between firms, technology companies, security organisations, and specifically, I think, encouraging that sort of innovation I just mentioned in terms of legal tech, but also access to justice and counter-terrorism and a range of other settings as well. So collaboration and innovation together, I think, is absolutely crucial to our future success. And innovation obviously involves novel products and services, but also more productive ways of doing existing things, and obviously things which we aren't yet imagining. And I think that set of behaviours, if you like, is as applicable in the legal sector as in any other part of the economy, and professional services, I think, across the board are ripe for innovation and to take and to grasp this opportunity. So I'm really pleased that backed with £4 million worth of EU funds. And when one of the more uplifting parts of my role has been to to my oversight of WEFO in this area, and I think the work that we've been able to the work to which we've put EU funds, I think, in Wales has been extraordinary, actually, during our membership of the European Union. But using some of that funding, this lab has been established to expand on the university's already established expertise and continuing to develop those existing and new partnerships with international law firms, security agencies, professional bodies and social media companies indeed, and a range of other key players. I think the support which the lab will provide for research and development in legal tech will open up, I think, a very clear route towards universal access to justice, which, you know, is a very key priority of mine and the government in Wales, notwithstanding the limitations in our devolved powers in order to address some of the worst challenges there. I think academic and industry experts will also be looking for new ways to reduce the risk of data hacking and to use technology like AI to address cyber threats. And I'm looking forward to Ben and Stefano speaking a little later about some of the projects the lab can help us all with. But one of the possibilities that most excites me about their work is the way that the Welsh Government and legal professionals and academia in Wales will be able to work in partnership, as I was saying earlier, both to develop and promote the technological capacity and capabilities of the legal sector. Our vision as a government is that digital in Wales will improve the quality of life, economic growth, and public services. And we are creating a digital strategy that will help us deliver against that vision. Quite advanced, I think, in our thinking, but we want to test where we've got to and to crowdsource some ideas to strengthen it. And the Deputy Minister for Economy and Transport, Lee Waters, launched a series of blogs about the draft strategy at the beginning of December, and I hope you'll be able to participate in the development of that and help shape the final version. We certainly value that if you felt able to do that. The strategy is separated into missions which describe what we want to achieve, and mission 2 is to drive economic growth, productivity and resilience by exploiting digital innovation. So what that means in practice is that we will capitalise on opportunities to exploit new tech as a catalyst really for investment and to attract new talent to Wales and to encourage clusters of digital innovation in order to do that, working with a range of stakeholders. And this lab is a prime example of the type of work that we will hope to be supporting and encouraging others to participate in. And we will support businesses in developing the skills of their workforce as well, so that they can take full advantage of the range of developments in Wales and the demand, the demand for cyber in particular and AI skills in Wales, both now and into the future. I appreciate the influence of legal tech on the future of work is a hot topic in a sense. There's been a bit of quite considerable uncertainty about what digital innovation will mean in terms of livelihoods and the livelihoods of future generations as well. I think some of those concerns are well founded. Discussions around automation and AI are often seen and presented certainly as a threat to the kind of work that we're accustomed to doing. But my own stance on it is I think it's important to be open-minded on the view of the future in terms of the impact of legal tech. I think there's a need to take some of the heat out of the debate and to be clear-sighted about how we can assess the sort of realities and the trends that will help shape the future of work. I think without doing that, there's a serious danger that some of the risks of digital dislocation, if you like, will leave people feeling out of touch and out of control, and that will not, I think, be to our benefit generally in future. So I see projects like the lab as helping us adopt a slightly different stance, really a different way of thinking, which is about finding solutions and opportunities for the sector, and actually daring us, and by extension, I think daring Wales generally to do things differently. So I hope you all enjoy taking part in the lab's launch this evening. I'm delighted to be asked to be here, so thank you very much for that. I'm sure we'll all be inspired by what we're about to hear, and I hope we'll all take that inspiration and that enthusiasm really that I've seen at first hand in the lab out to our firms, out to our networks, and encourage them to reach out and explore ideas with the Legal Innovation Lab, and I think find out what it means for you and embrace the possibilities that this sector can bring. So, diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. I think that many of the things that you said are keywords that I will also repeat, I think, when presenting a little bit more about the lab later on. But for now, I will ask Paul Boyle, who is our Vice Chancellor at Swansea University, if he wishes to say a few words about what we've just heard, and to thank Jeremy.
Diolch yn fawr, and thank you very much, Counsel General, for your words and support for the Legal Innovation Lab. It seems to me, and I think you've reflected this in the words you just gave us, that every aspect of society is now being disrupted by technology, and that even is the case in a centuries-old profession like law. So we're seeing transitions, as you described them, that we will never be able to turn back from. And therefore, I'm delighted to be here at the launch of what I would argue, and I think it's probably fair to say, is one of the most exciting projects in any law school in Wales, any law school in the UK, and arguably any law school in the world. We have a number of areas, but not that many at the university, where we can really genuinely say we're at the absolute cutting edge, and this is one of them. So we should be very, very proud of the achievements of this, and I think it's going to grow. And I expect over the next few years for us to be able to demonstrate even more clearly how this is an area of strength in Wales, and one that will attract not just academics and research, but also ideas that spin out into innovation for business and others who will be tempted to come because of the work that we're doing here at the university. Swansea University, of course, in a sense, is a leader in many areas, as I said before, but legal tech and cyber threats really is important for a whole range of reasons at the current time. It's important to our university. It's at the heart of making sure that we're effective and efficient in the way that we work, but it's important for a whole range of other businesses across the world. So this is something that I think we're going to see growing into the future, and something that we really want to be able to support. Of course, it has a relationship to the future of work, and also how we therefore benefit society and communities around us. And as a university, we see that as a major part of our function. We are an anchor, not just for academics and students, for our research and our teaching and learning, but we're also there for the community around us, and we genuinely understand our role in helping to drive local economic growth. And this is one of the areas that I think we can do that in. We often talk very proudly, as we should, of our STEM achievements, the work we do in energy and steel and many other areas at the university. But let's not forget that our economy is 70 or 80% service sector, and the work that's being done in centres like this are absolutely vital to that service sector economy. So we should be, as I said before, very proud. This, of course, is just one example of how the university, with partners, has really taken advantage of the European structural funds. And Jeremy, you've played a huge role in how those funds have been used across Wales. I think it's an excellent example of how external funding has been able to stimulate, promote in many areas in our institution, from computer science through engineering to climate change, medicine, and many, many more. And in this example, of course, in law. Of course, we're very aware that the work that WEFO has done has built an expertise in Wales. We now understand how to use those funds in partnership, as I say, with a range of other stakeholders. And we'll seek to harness as best we can the successor to European structural funds in Wales, what's called the Shared Prosperity Fund, for the benefit of communities across Wales. We're hugely supportive of the Welsh Government's efforts to try and ensure that the Shared Prosperity Fund is appropriately allocated and managed by Wales for Wales. Obviously, there's some debate around that, but we believe that the document that was pulled together that explained, in my view, extremely clearly how those funds could best be harnessed here in Wales reflected not only the strengths of the work that we've seen already funded by WEFO, including this centre, which is now just about to begin, but also it draws upon that experience of what it is to try and fund in local communities. And that's something that as an institution we are extremely supportive of. Our ambition, of course, is to use all the mechanisms that we can, all of the funding resources that are available to us, to work with partners to nurture the growth of a skilled economy and promote Wales as an international partner of choice for business, universities, investors, and innovators. We want people to come and work here. We want people to want to work in Wales because they understand that we're driving cutting edge technology. And this launch today is an absolutely fantastic example of that. So I'm not going to say any more other than just to say I'm delighted to hand over to Stefano and welcome your overview of the lab and its exciting plans ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you, of course, Jeremy. We will reflect on your words a little bit later on. And thank you, Alvin, so much for introducing Jeremy and starting our meeting today. So as many of you know, this project actually has 3 pillars, of which LegalTech is one. But of course, we have 2 other extremely important parts of the project, which are CyTrek, our Cyber Threat Research Center, which is led by Professor Stuart McDonald, and the Access to Justice pillar, which of course is extremely complementary, I would say, to the LegalTech part, where Richard Owen is responsible for. So I will hand it over to Stuart, first of all, to talk a little bit about CyTrek and give us the fuller picture of what this project deals with in terms of cyber threats.
Thank you very much, Stefano, and good evening, everyone. CyTrek is an interdisciplinary research centre. It sits within the Legal Innovation Lab. We are a combination of experienced researchers, early career researchers, and PhD students. And we have a variety of different disciplinary expertise that spans law, criminology, political science, history, linguistics, psychology, and computer science. We examine a range of cyber threats, from cyber warfare to cybercrime. So some of our work, which you can see on the screen, the next slide, includes a study of online fraud in Wales, which examined victimization patterns, a study of the communicative profiles of online groomers, and as you'll see from the sample of publications on the screen, we have particular expertise in terrorists' use of the internet. So some of our recent work on this includes textual and image analysis of the in-group and out-group identities constructed by different terrorist groups, a study of the strategies used by the so-called Islamic State to disseminate its e-magazine via Twitter, and an empirical examination of the extent to which personalization algorithms place further extremist content in front of consumers of such material. Moving on to say a little about our partners on the next slide. We believe in academic excellence, but not just academic excellence. We believe in academic excellence with real-world benefits. And so we partner with a number of non-academic stakeholders, some of which you can see on the screen. Europol, we are represented on the steering committee of Europol's Terrorism and Propaganda Network. The United Nations Counter-Terrorism Executive Directorate, we are a member of their Global Research Network. Tech Against Terrorism is a UN-mandated initiative that was set up to support the tech sector in combating terrorist exploitation of technology. The Global Network on Extremism and Technology, we're one of only 2 UK-based members of this network. The network is the research wing of the Global Internet Forum to Counter Terrorism, which is the governance structure that was set up by the leading social media companies. We've also collaborated with many others, including Facebook, RUSI, and Hadaya, which is the International Centre of Excellence on Countering Violent Extremism, based in Abu Dhabi. But as well as these national and international collaborators, we believe firmly in the importance of making a contribution locally. And so we also partner with local organisations, and these have included Tarian, the Regional Organised Crime Unit, and WECTU, the Wales Extremism and Counter-Terrorism Unit. So thanks to these collaborations, CyTrek's work has achieved a number of important impacts. These impacts include the shaping of understandings of what it means to be vulnerable to cybercrime. And this has enabled law enforcement to provide a more victim-focused response to communities in Wales. Our work on online propaganda and radicalisation has been used in Wales to create resources for teachers and parents, and these resources have raised awareness of safeguarding mechanisms and the warning signs of radicalisation. Our work has been used to train countering violent extremism practitioners globally in North and East Africa, Central, South and Southeast Asia, the Middle East and in the Balkan region. And our work has assisted in the removal of terrorist content from the internet by identifying small and micro platforms that have been exploited by terrorist groups. So in recognition of this work, we were shortlisted in the 2020 Counter-Terror Awards, which you can see on the next screen. So to conclude, often when I talk about cyber threats, I worry that I'm going to scare people off technology, and that's not my intention at all. Technology can be harnessed for great good, as Jeremy has emphasized in his keynote speech just now. And one of these benefits of technology is the scope for the provision of legal services. Of course, to realize these benefits of technology, we need a safe and secure internet. And so we see our work in SciTrek within the lab as supporting Stefano and the rest of the team in their important work on the LegalTech agenda. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll hand over next to Richard.
Thank you, Stuart. I'm talking about Swansea Law Clinic, which is a multi-award-winning pro bono clinic providing initial legal advice and assistance to both individuals and small businesses. As a pro bono clinic, we see ourselves as a complement rather than a replacement for existing legal services. And we only take on those cases where the client would not be able to afford legal advice in any other way. In accordance with the pro bono protocol, although our services are free, we work to the highest professional standards, and our clinic is accredited with the Advice Quality Standard Quality Kite Mark, and all our advice is recorded on the Clio case management system. The clinic is based alongside the Legal Innovation Lab Wales premises, and it is a space where the legal profession can integrate both with the Legal Innovation Lab and with the clinic, physically when conditions permit, and at the moment virtually. We moved into our existing premises in October 2019, and this has enabled us to significantly increase the number of clients we are able to advise. We've been absolutely delighted with the response from the local profession. 7 local firms of solicitors, the barristers' chambers, and an in-house legal department have all volunteered in the clinic. These clinics primarily take cases in the areas of housing, family, employment, equality, and consumer law. And we do some casework in the employment and equality field. Our volunteer lawyers have helped in our drop-in clinics, which unfortunately now paused due to COVID restrictions, but they're also assisting us in our virtual clinics, which have been running since restrictions were put in place. Our volunteer lawyers are supported by student volunteers who under supervision write the attendance notes. We also have student-led appointments, which are supervised by clinic staff and are followed up with an advice letter. We very much believe there is a commercial case for pro bono. For example, it's been a pleasure to work with one local firm in Swansea to assist in the professional development of their newly qualified and paralegal staff. We very much believe part of our role is to regenerate the local legal profession. And as the Counsel General said earlier, automation poses a threat to employment as well as opportunities. And we have to make sure we develop the soft skills amongst our volunteers and students so that we'll be able to excel in the jobs that the computers cannot take over from us. We very much hope as a pro bono clinic that we're in a good position to see the effects of the reduction of the scope of legal aid. And we would welcome opportunities to work with the legal profession and civil society on initiatives using legal tech which increase access to justice and makes it more affordable to the general public. We've given assistance with legal aid exceptional case funding applications and seen the difficulties caused not only to clients who have to complete not only a complex and in some ways misleading form, but show in this form that they are satisfying a complex human rights test and complying with Lord Chancellor's guidelines, but also the difficulties caused to the legal profession, who are not paid for assisting clients to complete this form. So this seemed to us to be a perfect space in which we could insert a pro bono clinic. And here we see the opportunities to help clients in terms of document assembly. If LegalTech is able to guide clients through the completion of such a complex form, then this has got to be for the benefit of the rule of law, the client, and the legal advice sector itself. Now, an advantage of working in Wales is that the various stakeholders are already well connected. As we can see this evening, we have government, the legal profession, civil society, and the academy coming together, which they do on a regular basis in Wales. And I feel LegalTech has got a role in extending this advantage further. Swansea Law Clinic participates in a number of networks, including the Swansea Neath Port Talbot Regional Advice Network, which is one of a number of regional advice networks established and supported by the Welsh Government. And I am the independent chair of its steering group. Now, this is a forum which brings together advice providers, planners, and funders, and has set priorities for the advice sector in the Swansea Neath Port Talbot region. And one of these priorities is identifying unmet legal need. Now, in the clinic, we've already been researching as to how you might be able to geocode using big data aspects of legal need. And through this network, and hopefully through use of LegalTech, we can further develop this thinking so that advice resources can be targeted more effectively to areas where we know there are likely to be an instance of a particular need. Now, where we are situated in a university also means we have opportunities to use existing technology, but in innovative ways. For example, we will shortly be working with the Law Society on a pilot. We will be translating the forms and precedents parts of the Law Society's pro bono manual into the Welsh language. We will be recruiting Welsh-speaking students whose work will be expedited through use of translation software, and then will be checked by experienced legal professionals. Now, this not only addresses the need to facilitate access to justice through the Welsh language, but it will also create networks of students and legal professionals which will further promote the use of the Welsh language in our justice system. And so with that, I'll now hand over to Stefano.
Thank you so much, Richard. Thank you, Stuart. I think you've given a very clear picture of some fantastic work that is happening at Swansea University, of course, in a partnership with so many other actors within the university and outside of it. I'm very conscious of time because, of course, we are keeping you here very late on a Friday evening, so I'll try and keep my introduction to the lab shorter, and I'll skip the presentation that I had prepared because I think that the Counsel General has used a few keywords that will help me illustrate very clearly what the lab is all about. And some of the keywords that we heard earlier today, in particular two of them, collaboration and innovation, are central to what the lab aims to do. Of course, it sits within Swansea University. It is a physical space that you can see in my virtual background, but it is much more than that. It is a space for everyone to engage with technology in Wales and beyond Wales. And it's a space for the academic world and the world of practitioners and any other interesting organization or professional to come together and work together to integrate tech within law. And in that sense, it's a project and it's a lab that belongs to everyone. It belongs to Swansea University as much as it belongs to any other university in Wales, as much as it belongs to any practitioner, whether working in a big law firm or in a small law firm. It's a project that belongs to the third sector, It's a project that belongs to an organization that campaign for access to justice and the work on access to justice. And it's a project that belongs also to all the people of Wales and beyond, who of course have legal needs that technology can help address. And in that sense, I'd like to give you a little bit of a picture of what the team of the lab consists of at the moment and where it will expand in the future. So there is a team of developers at work in the lab with a view to working on projects in partnership with the legal profession and to make sure that we can create some reality in the legal tech world, that we can work on proof of concepts, that we can work on projects that actually bring those technologies to life to address real life issues that the legal sector encounters. There is also an academic team. Of course, you've heard about a little bit about the Sidetrack academic team, and there is a LegalTech team as well that is being constructed with the help of internal colleagues, but also going externally to recruit new academics. And all of this is not part of an expansion just of the sort of School of Law academic capacity in terms of research, but it's really our attempt to find new figures, new researchers that can engage with the profession and any other organization and create research that is applied in the real world. One of the greatest aims of the lab in a way, and in this way it's a very innovative task at the same time, is to create legal research that can solve real life issues. Research that goes out into the real world, connects to people, understands their needs, and works with them, and primarily with solicitors, barristers, and other professionals to realize solutions that have real life impact. In a way, technology has the potential to mean a lot of different things to different people, and we've heard several mentions of the Justice Commission's report, which I think cites technology about 80 times in its report, and it cites technology across all the areas of law. It cites technology as an enabler of rights, but it also cites the difficulties that clients have, for example, with technology. It cites the potential for technology to be used as a tool for education and to educate new generations of lawyers. And it uses technology also as a way to talk about the difficulties that rural communities encounter in using it. And the lab wants to not directly address all of these issues because, of course, it's impossible to do, but it wants to be an enabler for people to come together and work across all these different dimensions. And in that sense, the main aims of the lab, in a way, are on one side to stimulate academic research that can support the use of technology in law, to study exactly what those technologies are, how they should be regulated, what sort of issues they create in their application to law, and what sort of opportunities they also give rise to. Another pillar, once that research is in place, is to innovate. And innovation here doesn't necessarily mean big scale innovation. We're all familiar with keywords like blockchain or artificial intelligence. And those, for as long as we think only about the big innovation, we're excluding a lot of significant parts of the legal sector and also a lot of clients from potentially benefiting from those technologies. So innovation here means taking these technologies, understanding what they can bring, and work from the bottom up to make sure that we integrate these technologies in a way that benefits the widest possible range of beneficiaries. And the third pillar of all of this is the education. It's making sure that that technology is known by practitioners, it's known by the legal sector more widely, it is understood in terms of its potential and difficulties, and that we contribute, stimulate a discussion that is well informed about these technologies. And where there are gaps, where there is the opportunity to use technology, but it is difficult, for example, for a small law firm or for a sole practitioner to understand what the technology can bring to him or her, we should be there to help assist their understanding of this technology, to help work with others, and to educate, at the end of the day, the future generations of practitioners and current generation of practitioners that need to understand how that technology can be relevant for their work and what benefits it can bring to them. It's a sort of big overview, but what does it mean in practice? How will the lab engage externally? What are we going to do with all of you? Because I see in the list of participants today, I see law students, I see practitioners, I see policymakers. I saw a very interesting question from the SRA about regulation. So there's a very, very wide range of stakeholders here today. So what do these three pillars mean in reality? Well, first of all, they mean that the lab can be a place for any unmet legal need to be brought to the attention, for any opportunity legal tech to be brought to the attention of the lab, and for the lab to establish a partnership between our academic community and those stakeholders externally that bring that need to our attention, to work together towards the establishment of legal tech projects where we apply that technology, thanks also to the support of our developers, to meet that legal need. And these projects are collaborative in nature. The lab will not operate on the basis of essentially a customer that comes in, suggests an unmet technology need, and the lab provides a solution. No, the lab will seek to establish a partnership which is partly academic and partly practitioner-based to meet those needs and develop projects that will have real-life impact. It also, the lab is also, of course, open and very willing to engage with anyone that is interested in supporting the research side. We have some friends from Oxford here today, and in the slides that I have prepared, I indeed used a little of the material they created within the LegalTech team. And we are very keen to engage with universities in Wales, but also with practitioners who are interested in exploring legal tech from a more research-based. And all this research is meant to have real-life impact. So once again, it fuels that innovation which I have already mentioned. Another way to engage with the lab is to simply tell us about the needs that emerge, for example, in the profession in terms of knowledge about technologies. We have academics, for example, with incredible expertise in areas like natural language processing, machine learning, and in applications of those technologies, such as the tagging of case law, the tagging of legislation, the use of open data, and so on. So we can be a point of reference where we can put you in touch with people that have the expertise to talk about these technologies and to discuss on what they can bring to the table. And of course, the lab is also a place which can connect different people. So wherever we are not able to assist you directly, for example, with a project or by providing ourselves some support to your questions, we can always signpost you to other companies, to other labs, to other universities, to other practitioners, and we can create and contribute to creating an ecosystem. And this goes back to what Jeremy repeated multiple times about this aspect of collaboration. There is nothing that Wales cannot do and that the lab cannot do if we operate as a center of collaboration, if we bring different types of expertise together, if we make sure that tech is an enabler, not a limitation for anyone. And the only way to do all of this is to work together. I just wanted to say a few more words about an aspect of all of this, which is that being in Wales, and we heard, of course, of some of the difficulties that the sector encountered in Wales and possibly also compared to other parts of the United Kingdom. Being in Wales is not a limitation in any possible way for the work that the lab seeks to do, nor for the engagement that the profession in Wales can have with legal tech. One of the great benefits, in a way, of technology applied to law is that it is an equalizer. It doesn't matter where you are located geographically. It doesn't even matter whether the skills exist or not, because they can be created. A new generation of legal technologies can be created quickly and effectively in partnership, for example, between legal experts, computer science experts, and so on. And actually, the fact that Wales has the experience of the smaller law firms, it has the difficulties of the rural communities, can actually be a catalyzer that allows us to be greater innovators than other places where the need to innovate is not there. Wales has a strong need to innovate in the legal sector and in other sectors, and that in a way is the greatest opportunity that we have to change things. And the only way to do this is to do it together, from Welsh Government to the academic world, to the legal sector community, and to anyone else that is interested in participating in that change. So the lab aims really to provide a space for all of these different stakeholders to come together, to think about what innovation means in a technological sense in the legal sector, to explore what the opportunities, the benefits, and the challenges are, and to work together on creating a community of researchers, a community of people that are interested in collaborating on research projects with real life impact, in order to then not only revolutionize in a way the way that legal services are conceived in ways and beyond in the future, but also to inform, for example, policymaking in that area, to drive a legal and regulatory environment that can support innovation in the legal sector and beyond. And I think in as short as I could summarize it, this is pretty much an overview of what the lab seeks to do and the reason to engage with the lab. We are an academic community, but we are also a community of people that want and need to engage with everyone else to deliver legal innovation in ways and beyond. And we, together, we have the power to really make some effective change, which is not for itself, it's not for journal articles in academic journals, but it is for the benefit of a community. First of all, the community of Wales, but of course, many other communities around the world. So I hope that this gave you an overview of what the lab is. I could say many other things, but of course, there are ways to get in touch with us and to learn a little bit more about the projects and the technology that we're working on. We'll keep you updated in the future after this event about the things that we are working on and the ways to engage more directly with the lab. But I hope that this can give some sense of where we want to go, how we want to work with all of you, and where the direction of travel is. So I will now hand it over to Dr. Kerry Bainon, also known as Kerry, and that she didn't want any other introduction, but I will say that she is a partner at RDP Law, and she's also trustee of Swansea University and a member of the Technology and Law Committee at the Law Society, to say a few words about what the profession thinks about all of this and whether she thinks that there is some potential here indeed to work together and transform law with application of technology. So Kerry, over to you for a few minutes.
Hi, Stefano. Thanks very much. As Stefano's just said, I'm a solicitor in private practice. I've got an interest in legal tech, data and cybersecurity. And I'm also a member of the Law Society's Tech and Law Committee, and I'll shamelessly give them or give us a quick plug. As you may know, this committee develops guidance that will assist the profession in adopting relevant new technologies and comply with IT-related professional obligations and regulatory requirements. So this would include, for example, data protection, cybersecurity. As you know, as a result of Brexit, there's been a lot of work going on in this space. The committee seeks to shape developing policy initiatives, including court modernisation, and also looks at the role of emerging new technologies, including AI, machine learning, and their impact on law and legal practice. So I was very interested to learn about the work of the Legal Innovation Lab Wales project, as it's really topical. It's highly relevant to emerging trends that we're seeing in the wider economy, general society, and the profession in particular. We are in the legal services sector facing a challenging time, but it's also a really exciting time. We've seen the importance of legal tech in terms of facilitating home working during the global pandemic. If we were to think back 10 years, had this current situation occurred then, I think we may have been in a very difficult or different situation. So legal tech really has proved its importance in terms of business sustainability and helping the profession meet its regulatory and professional obligations. We've heard already today how legal tech is being used by many in the profession to actually deliver services to our own clients. So law firms, for example, are increasingly using law tech to provide streamlined online services to clients in an accessible way, helping us to stay relevant, helping us to compete, and making sure that we have a sustainable and bright future for the younger people in particular entering the profession and those who use our services. We've heard how legal tech can facilitate access to justice. That's really important. And in terms of Wales, one thing I would like to mention is, as those practitioners in Wales are acutely aware, we have a devolved administration. So there really is a chance here for the legal profession in Wales to engage and drive innovation in a way that's relevant to Wales, our clients in Wales, and how we offer our services here. And also, as has already been touched upon, Wales has got a strong reputation in terms of its cybersecurity ecosystem in particular. There's a potential, therefore, for the legal profession to engage with other businesses, to create innovative solutions, to build on those existing local, national and international networks and relationships, and to continue to work on ways of delivering services in a legally compliant manner. And I understand that the Legal Innovation Lab Wales can play a part in this. As you've just heard from Stefano in his talk and from the other speakers this evening, it appears from the practitioner's perspective that there are 4 potential ways that we in the profession can engage with the lab. So we've heard that the lab can possibly help us scope and develop ideas. Sometimes we have an idea, or we might have an idea, we're afraid to express it. This might be the forum for us to bring that to the forefront and discuss it. There are training opportunities that might be relevant to us in terms of business sustainability, meeting our professional CPD, and just for general best practice. The project can also help signpost the profession to other players who have similar interests, helping us to build that discussion, take the conversation forward and see where we go. It's a really exciting time. And also help develop projects that will help transform the ways in which law firms work and how we engage with the wider public and make our services more acceptable, more accessible and more dynamic. So whatever legal tech means to you, and that's an entirely different conversation, and whatever your area of legal practice, whether you're a criminal practitioner, commercial, family, private client, if you have a potential idea or a potential problem that needs a solution, or if you're just interested in the subject of legal tech, from my personal perspective, I would encourage you to remember the Legal Innovation Wales project and consider getting in touch. I think it's a really exciting time, Stefano, and I think there are great opportunities here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carrie. I think that what you said here resonates very strongly with me. And it's one of the things as a former practitioner myself that I think is incredibly important. It's an opportunity for everyone. And the opportunity is to really work together to make change. Alone, the lab will not be able to do anything. A small law firm or even a big law firm will not be able to sort of exploit legal tech, the opportunities of legal tech all by itself. We need as a community to really come together and change the way law works. So thank you so much. I've put in my background a few ways to connect with the lab. Of course, not sure this is the best way to do it, but something needed not to go perfectly for the webinar, of course, in terms of technology. I wish to really thank all of our speakers today, starting from Jeremy Miles. I think, Jeremy, you've shared some words with us which are not the words of a politician or the words of a lawyer, but they are the words of a person that is really keen to see Wales succeed and to see what tech can do for all of us and for our community. And I think that speaks not just to the academics among us or the practitioners, it speaks to the people at home that perhaps are not here on our webinar, but that can really benefit at the end of the day from the innovation that we can create in Wales. So thank you so much, Jeremy. Thank you, Carrie, of course, for your great contribution and your support for this project. Thank you, Elwyn. You are, I know this is a word you don't like, but you are a champion of the lab in many ways. And your support is invaluable to all of us. Thank you, Paul, of course, for your continued support. And Stuart and Richard, you are brilliant and you do a fantastic job. And we hope to work more with all of you in the future. So thank you, everyone, for spending your Friday evening with us. We're really grateful for your attention. We will connect with all of you in the coming days and weeks. And of course, I saw that there are some questions in the Q&A that we will get back to you about. So thank you very much, everyone, for your time and for your attention today. And thank you to all our speakers.